you go from an amazing, easy, almost lifestyle and then all of that to suddenly being like, now we have to focus on our own business. But it was a much easier decision because I already done it before and I had no doubts I want to do it again.
Hi, Freddie.
Hey, Candy.
Could you please help me with pronouncing your surname?
Yeah, so if we're in the UK, you should probably pronounce it Szydlowski, which is not easy. In Poland, it would be Szydlowski. And in German, where I actually was born, would be Szydlowski as well. So it's a complicated.
It's difficult in any.
Yeah, but Szydlowski will do. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Good to know. Now, can you please tell me a bit about your background and how you came to be in the hospitality industry?
Yeah. So it was nothing that I ever thought it would be. So I'm actually German born. I was born in Hamburg, but when I was 7, I already moved to Poland. And actually there during my school years, I took up basketball just as a, as an 11-year-old kid. I ended up playing professional at the top level in Europe when I was a teenager. But then when I decided to actually stop my sports career when I was 19, I decided to just move to London. And well, as you do, London is not a cheap place to live. So as I was, trying to apply for uni, moved in here, I wanted to sort of be on my very own and independent without having to take money from my parents. So I took up a job at Joe and the Juice actually, just to pay my bills actually as a 19-year-old in London. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the industry. I fell in love with the concept of it, with everything that is behind the scenes that you as a everyday customer just will never see. So that was fascinating. Yeah,
I like that story. And would you consider your journey to be a hard one, or was there a lucky break along the way?
I think it was a mix of both. I think you always need a bit of luck, but I think you can attract luck by working hard, being basically open to opportunities, and create as many as possible. So when I was at Joe and the Juice, actually, for most people, would have been just any job, just get the bills done, go to your shift, finish, go on with your uni. For me, and that's how I generally try to approach things, if I do something, I try to be the best at it or learn to be the best at it. So although it was meant to be just a job to pay my bills, I really approach it, I want to be the best juicer, the best, barista, the best person to actually be part of the team. And what that led to is that I started to get to know a lot of customers, and I was mainly working and then end up managing the one in Kings Road. And what happened was that naturally, because I was so passionate about the job, passionate about what I was doing, a lot of these people would somehow click onto it and would start, inviting me to some of the parties, some of the dinners. I became friends with a lot of successful people who happen obviously to live in Chelsea. And one of them was the, now ex-PR director of Tonteria in Sloane Square, which at that point was one of the biggest, hotspots in London. And yeah, she ended up inviting me as well to her 30th birthday because we became friends. And at that birthday, which was the Cafe Royale, where you had, some British socialites, and who was there as well, they were the owners of Tonteria, who ended up, chatting to me, and they offered me a job when I was 20, and they said, well, we see potential in you, we really see a bit of ourselves in you. Why don't you join our marketing team? We'll give you a few months to prove yourself, right? We want to see your creativity, your hard work, help us to grow the business. And yeah, so that on one hand you can say it was a bit of luck, but then I do think I somehow attracted it, which is being passionate, working hard, and not approaching that, making a juice or a coffee is something that you shouldn't care about. I was so passionate about everything that I think it just becomes contagious in whatever you do. Yeah.
And when you were at that party, with all these people who you say were like socialites and such, were you intimidated, or were you just your personable self like you were at Joe and the Juice?
No, I don't. I've dealt or met a lot of celebrities in my life. I've been friends with some of them, but I never really cared. To me, I don't care really who you are. And it's not just some, nice thing to say. It's just generally, I really don't care. I care what you stand for, whether you're a cool, successful person, there's something you're passionate about. And I think it was the same, what really took me to that sort of thinking and that mindset is, when I was a teenager and I wanted to play basketball, right? I would obviously watch the games, I would have my idols there playing, top level in Europe or NBA. And then suddenly when I started playing professional basketball in Europe, well, at some point those idols have become my rivals or my teammates. And I think it was such an unbelievable experience when you realize, well, they're human beings as well. And you can get to that level. So instead of being intimidated, just find it more as an inspiration or be curious, but treat them normally. If you're going to treat them like another human being, they'll treat you like another human being. And I think that was the first time. And then, I just never was particularly excited about, I don't know, a celebrity or someone, hugely successful. I was, if anything, inspired or curious about them.
And do you think that's what people picked up by you, like especially at that party where you say you were basically like scouted for a new job?
Yeah, I think, it's hard to say. I think what they saw is just, I guess a very young guy who's, I don't know, passionate about people, passionate about what he does, ambitious, has some dreams. But to be honest, at that point, I felt quite comfortable. And I think, maybe that was sort of crucial, that I felt quite comfortable and I was just happy to be there. And that's generally how I try to approach life. No matter what, I try to be happy where I am and never be satisfied, but just always be happy.
Right, and it sounds like you've been your authentic self.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So you are a co-founder and entrepreneur. Can you describe that defining moment in your life when you decided, I have this business idea and it's worth pursuing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was even before embargo when I learned to, I guess, make a decision to pursue such a dream without really caring about anything else in the world. So it was, whilst I still was at Tenturia, actually, before embargo, when I was 21, I had another business idea, which was a fashion brand. And, I just had an idea of it. We had the basic branding around this, the concept, but not much more. And whilst I presented it to the owners, they said it looks great. However, they told me, look, sadly, because we just made you head of marketing, because then when I was 21, they actually made me head of marketing after 6 months of being there. So they gave me a huge responsibility.
So you proved yourself, like they asked?
Yeah, I think I did. But then, they gave me a choice of either you're staying with us and you become head of marketing, we also give you more responsibility with another club opening. There was a lot of, there was pretty much a big, exciting opportunity and deal on the table, especially for a 21-year-old, right? Potentially being head of marketing of 2 super successful clubs, which means, career, network, money, and everything. But then they said you have to drop that idea. Your business, which at that point wasn't even a business yet, it was just a concept of that business. And I think at that point I thought, you know what, I'm just too young to drop a dream for just money at the very moment. And then I said, yeah, sorry guys, I can't say I want to pursue this. So I think that was much harder. When I launched that business, which, from a PR perspective, marketing perspective, was a big success. We did very well in terms of, press. Both our collections were released by British GQ. It was menswear. We had quite a few celebrities sort of wearing it, endorsing it, which was awesome. But we're also wearing it at that stage from a business perspective, really take the next level. But in the meantime, I also met my business partner from embargo, well, not my current business partner, then future business partner, who was a regular customer at the venues I looked after. So that's when we realized there's a big issue. And actually, as a venue, as a hospitality business, we know so little about our customers. We have so little tools to really communicate with them, drive them back, understand how often they come, and really have easy tools to manage your customer base, your loyal customer base. And we realized this, and then we really started having those ideas. And I think once we started crystallizing it, and that was sort of probably 2016, 2017, it wasn't a hard move. It was a hard move probably somewhat financially, from a lifestyle perspective, because you go from an amazing, easy, almost lifestyle in terms of what you can spend, what you can afford, and all of that, to suddenly being now we have to focus on our own business. Everything has to change. But it was a much easier decision because I already done it before, and I had no doubts I want to do it again. So I guess it was just natural.
So now tell me about Embargo.
Yeah. So ultimately, we are a plug-and-play loyalty platform for hospitality businesses. It's basically two products. On one hand, we have an app, which you can think of a wallet for a loyalty card. So across the street from where we're sitting today is Gentleman Baristas, right? So we work with them. So we have their loyalty card on our wallet. So we are the sole loyalty card provider. But naturally, as a customer here, I go there for my coffee every day. But I'm also going to have a couple of lunch places in the area. I'll probably have a few venues near where I live in East London. So before embargo, what you would end up having is 5 paper cards, which you lose, or you have nothing and you just hope that the same barista serves you and looks after you, right? The moment they leave, your loyalty is gone, reset, nothing. But from a manager owner perspective, you have no idea who your customers are. You have no idea how many actually return. But then you always claim that my regulars are most important. But you have no tools to really capture that data, communicate with them, drive them back. So what we actually do on one end is like put it in one wallet, in one app. So one app for now over 1,000 venues, right? So it makes it easy for the consumer. It's eco-friendly, so no more printing cards, no more carrying stuff around. It's contactless and just simple. But on the other hand, which is really the hard, is a CRM system. So ultimately we're a B2B solution. So a venue, whether they are a big group like Gentleman Baristas, Crash or whatever, or you're a single operator, you can get that CRM system on plug-and-play basis within 48 hours on a monthly subscription. So suddenly you see all the data, all the analytics. You can exactly see who are my loyal customers, how many have returned, how many haven't, how many regulars they rely on to be successful, and have a direct communication channel through 6 different ways. So ultimately we turn that, that paper card into a powerful data and marketing tool, because if those customers are most important for hospitality, well, let's start actually managing that customer base.
Oh, so you're serving both the client and the
Correct.
business.
And empowering ultimately hospitality businesses who have historically been a bit neglected when it comes to tools to do this. I mean, Nando's, McDonald's, Starbucks could build something on their own for millions of dollars, right? And even they would have struggled. I mean, some of the brands that I just mentioned, their apps have like 1.4 App Store rating, right? So it's clearly been a difficult journey to get it right because their focus is hospitality, not tech. So we try to empower that operator, that venue owner, and give them those tools, but in a very easy way.
You've been called a relentless businessman, mainly by Yuri. So how long did it take you and your team to build Embargo, and what were the big bumps that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think when we started the business, we knew one thing. This is a big issue, right? We're talking about a $3 trillion industry, which is hospitality, which is pretty much present in every city, town in the world. And they all rely on the same thing. I need to get customers in and I need to get them back, right? That's literally all we have to do. Sounds simple, right? But then there aren't really any tools that have successfully built loyalty, that have successfully built, that data capturing CRM systems, focusing on those loyal customers. So we've seen a lot of businesses, whether they were startups or huge companies, like big EPOS providers, trying to, somehow nail this. And no one had actually done it properly, at least not in Europe. There were some cases in America that did it quite well, but not really apart from this. So we've seen this, we've seen why they failed, or we believe we knew why they failed. So when we started business, we had an idea what hadn't worked, but we had to figure out what's gonna work. So we actually took the first couple of years of just product market fit. I mean, Yuri saw it, he saw the first version of it, and for us was just, okay, let's get something out. Let's put on the market, let's get as much feedback as possible, because we knew it's not going to be the sort of startup that in the first, within 1.5 years, 2 years, going to be a unicorn, because the product market fit will be very challenging. But once we get it right, we can really scale it to anywhere in the world. And it's very hard to enter that because it's a difficult industry to sell and to operate with. So I think the challenge was the following, is that on one hand, we first try to master the in-venue customer journey, right? And now think about this from an in-venue, from that in-venue customer journey perspective. It's Monday morning, it's raining, you're already late for a meeting and you're coming in for your coffee, right? There's a rush, the baristas are already overwhelmed, also tired, also, probably a bit stressed because there's a huge rush in the morning. You running in, everything is so hectic and so difficult. It's the most fragile, customer journey you can think of. So how can your app, on one hand, be so simple and so, I would say, idiot-proof, right? I mean, I'm an idiot on a Monday morning before my coffee, right? We all are, right? How can it be so simple that the staff feels like it's easy, because the staff is there to manage that.
Yes.
And they change all the time, so it cannot take too much training and educating. How can you make sure that it works for the consumer who is in a rush, who is already stressed, who is tired, and also for a consumer that doesn't have to be that tech savvy. I mean, not every customer of a coffee shop is a big tech enthusiast, right? But the loyalty card has to work for all of them. So how can we keep those touch points so light, so easy to understand, while still making it valuable for the consumer? But above all, how can we bring that maximum value for the owner? Because he's the one paying the bills. So this was the part where we had to really nail this. And this took several years, and we've gone through so many issues and so many different, bottlenecks where we didn't really know how to master that. But we ended up doing this, and I'm quite proud to say that the in-vein customer journey that we provide at the moment is literally the best I've seen. I'm always quite, bullish, and I'm always quite conservative about saying stuff like that. But it's really good. It's really smooth. And the next thing is how can you sell this to an industry which also is usually hugely overwhelmed? If you try to reach a manager of a coffee shop, right? First of all, I mean, they don't really go on the emails and check the emails and have a structured day office work. Usually those places don't even have a phone number. And then that manager quite often has to do everything in their business, right? A bit of marketing, a bit of hiring, a bit of supply chain management, running the floor, especially in the last couple of years with the huge staff shortages. Those managers are so overwhelmed. Now someone comes and tries to sell them a solution, which requires a bit of understanding, sitting down, thinking through. So I think, how can we really get that sales process right? How can we show that we're here to support the industry? We're not just another app trying to, excuse my language, milk them or try to give them something that's just a complete fantasy. We're actually solving a problem. We've been in your shoes. We understand your struggle. Let us help you. Let's provide you something. Give us 20-30 minutes and we'll get it right for you.
So to elevator pitch them, basically.
Yeah, and I think just more show them that they can trust us and that we are worth their time in the super busy schedule. And I think that was the second thing. How can we really nail that sales process so it doesn't just work off contacts and networks, because that's not scalable. How can you make it scalable? So we can do it in London, we can do it in Manchester, Liverpool, we can do it in other countries. And that's what we've done. We've expanded to new countries, we copy-pasted that model, it works, and that's something we're proud of. Obviously, there's still a gazillion new challenges on the way, but I think the product market fit and the sales process were the two big things that we had to really nail, and that were the hardest and took us several years. But we sort of expected that, to be honest, because no one had done it before.
Impressive. So during the pandemic, we all became more reliant and comfortable with tech solutions coming into our everyday lives. In your opinion, what is technology's place within the hospitality industry?
I think definitely, COVID has accelerated that adoption, understanding, or maybe seeing the value of it. Although you can also already tell that, post-lockdown, post the pandemic, a lot of solutions have already disappeared or started, becoming less important or less used. So I think in this sense, it really opened, our eyes, because we're forced as a hospitality business to do this. Whether we can call hospitality a tech savvy, a digital first, industry, I'm not sure yet, but it's going the right direction. I think we live though in a world where it's inevitable. Whether you want it or not, you have to implement some sort of technology, because the world requires this. A restaurant is not going to operate well if some might, right? But that's lack. That's a bit of lack, that they will operate with no solutions at all. Customers expect that. Also, the business model expects that, because the margins are smaller and smaller, the costs go up, so you need to find efficiency in your business, and without technology it's quite hard to find it. So I think it's inevitable. The technology is there and it will stay. I would love, obviously, the industry to be more and more open and maybe, put a bit more trust towards technology, but we're definitely seeing a great change, which is exciting, both for me as a tech founder, but also for me as a big hospitality enthusiast, because I think, you know, if hospitality does well, we're all gonna have a great time. So yeah.
I like that mindset. And back to hospitality industry, what do you think are the biggest challenges right now? I know it's quite a general question.
Well, I think that clearly a lot. I mean, the biggest one, or one of the biggest one, is staff shortages. I mean, to me, it's almost crazy that, you know, suddenly in London, where everyone always wanted to be and live, and you had to literally kill to get a job in a good venue, right? I mean, back in the days when you were, you know, venue owner, you could just pick and choose whoever you wanted, especially if you had a decent brand. Now it's like, no matter how good you are, it's so hard to find people. I mean, a lot of it is down to politics, some because of obviously the COVID migrations and all of that. I don't want to go into detail why this happened, but I think the staff shortages, the shortage of talent in that industry is a big issue. I think obviously naturally the supply chain, I mean, it's increasing, obviously costs, it's making it more difficult and more hectic to run a business. But then again, you know, we're lucky that we live in times where there's so much technology and so many tools to actually help you somehow, you know, run that business and make up for some losses here and there, have solutions that can help you run the business without that much, you know, staff. So I think there are ways, you know, to overcome, and clearly we have so many great success stories of still some venues just opening new sites and growing. So I think there's a way around this. Yeah, I think, and I think the last but not least is always, you know, the mentality, right? I think what I've seen personally, you know, forget about embargo in general, that those operators who have the mindset of like, I want to innovate, I'm savvy, what else can we do, what else can we improve, generally end up doing very well, no matter what the times are, you know? And I think people who have this approach almost like, you know, why change if things are okay, right? Why improve? Is usually, you know, those people that end up struggling a lot. So I hope, because there's so many great brands out there, that a lot of will change our mindset, because it would be a waste, or it would be a shame to lose them from the market, basically.
So you have recently become a father.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How has parenthood affected your role as an entrepreneur? Purely asking for a friend.
Well, I think naturally it puts, you know, more time pressure on things, like you obviously have more on your plate. But then, to be honest, since my son arrived, things have been like going so well. We've never been doing so well as a business. I think, in one hand, I have more, and I never thought I can take even more. But then, what a child brings, if you really approach it with some empathy and an open mind and open heart, what it brings is the biggest inspiration. Because I think, you know, I hope that won't sound cheesy, but I genuinely believe that is that we quite often forget that, you know, we'll always be children inside. And I think the best thing about people is, you know, that inner child that they always have, because that allows you to be curious about the world. That allows you to, you know, live through your emotion and let it go and move on, right? Not hang on to any grief or anything negative. And I think also it gives you that perspective where, you know, sometimes when we're tired, stressed, in that huge pace, we catch on these little setbacks throughout the day, and then it really stays with you, right? Like you go back home, you still think about this, you're still down, you know, although you're going for dinner with friends, you're still in a terrible mood. But then, you know, you only realize that probably after a few weeks or months or a year, be like, why had I even bothered? It was such a small thing in a big picture. Whereas when I now go back home and I manage to be there before he falls asleep, like you suddenly just reset and you realize that actually the whole thing was just not even worth my energy. Like, it's fine, it happens, it rains sometimes, you know, sometimes there's sunshine, but you just switch off and you get a great reset and a great perspective. So I think it's about, you know, finding that inspiration. To be honest, I'm learning more from him than he's probably learning from me. So I genuinely mean that. So I think, yeah, things have never been better for us at Embargo since he actually arrived, and just before he arrived there was a lot of challenges and a lot of stress, and you know, coming with, you know, in the middle of the pandemic, COVID, we didn't know when our industry will fully reopen. There were so many issues and you know, questions that we didn't really have an answer for, and then things just happened. So I think it's just about, yeah, not taking it as a, oh my god, so much stress and responsibility, but more what a source of inspiration. Yeah.
And back to the app, Embargo, what does the name mean? Like, what is the significance there?
I mean, we're very pragmatic about the name, to be honest, like from a business perspective. We saw just way too many apps trying to call themselves like something related to food, drinks, or whatever, but they're just it's a word that is known but differently spelled, or they add a few letters at the end or at the beginning, and that's just really weird and quite hard to remember. And if you hear the name, you'd be like, oh sorry, how do I spell it? Or if you just hear it and then you want to look it up, if you misspell it, you won't find it, right? Also, so we wanted a name that everyone, when they hear it once and they will hear that it's an app, they'll right away recognize it and they will always remember there's an app called Embargo, right? Because otherwise, I mean, you can connect with Cuban embargo, some, stuff like that, but once you hear it once with an app, you remember that. It's spelled the same in every country in the world. In every country that word exists, so if we launch, we scale, everyone gets it. We don't have to change the way it's written or pronounced or whatever. And yeah, when you hear Embargo and you look it up, well, we're on pretty much every app store that we know of in any country. We come first if you just look up Embargo. When you look up Embargo without previously putting much effort into SEO or anything like that, would always come up top or very high up. So it was almost like a pragmatic decision that this name actually works because everyone will know it, remember it, know how to spell it, and we didn't have to fight to be somewhere at the top, because a lot of apps just have so generic names or weird names that it's just hard to get that. So yeah, it was a pragmatic decision. Yeah.
So to people out there who are just discovering Embargo, what would you like to say to those people? Like, can you sort of elevator pitch us?
Well, I think Embargo gives you a way to really give back to your favorite venues. At the end of the day, in one place you can put all your favorite loyalty cards. So not only you feel like you're really supporting those businesses, right? Because you're coming back, you're spending time and money, you're probably recommending them as well if you like them. You also allow those businesses to understand their operations better, right? Because while using Embargo, they can realize how many people return, how many don't, how often they actually return. Even if they realize like it's taking too long for people to return or a lot of people drop, it's a great information for them to actually become better. So, but then on the other hand, you actually get rewarded for it. So I think we're creating a win-win situation where you get rewarded for being crucial for that business, and every visit, every coffee you buy, every burger you buy is recognized. Like we always say, we make loyalty count, both for the customer and for the business, because those businesses rely on people like you. Those businesses can't really function without it. We give them finally a tool to connect with you, be closer and understand you better. So yeah.
So win-win.
Yeah.
So back to your younger self, right? That very energetic guy that used to work at Joe and the Juice. What is the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Just take any opportunity, create opportunities. Don't think that something is too small or irrelevant. Just whatever you do, try to be passionate about it and do it best, like no matter what that is. And wherever you start, doesn't matter. As long as you be passionate about it, put your energy in, like it'll get you far. And I think, that's at least, I feel like that has been key for me.
Just get going, try.
Just get going and be the best. Like, if you take a job as a cleaner, be the best bloody cleaner in the world, If you take a job as a barista, make the best coffees in the world. Like, even if it's not going to be your career, at the very moment, just get the most out of it, learn it, be passionate about it. It will attract people, it will attract opportunities. So you show the world that you're ready to take on stuff, you're ready to learn, and you're really passionate about this. So I think that just creates, and whilst you just keeping humble and kind and not being cocky about something that you actually can do, like people will come to you. Like seriously, people will come to you.
Gosh, I love that. So I always like to end by looking towards the future. What do you wish for your industry and its operatives moving forward?
I think, I sometimes bring that example of when Henry Ford built the first car. A lot of people came to him and said, what's wrong with horses? They've worked for thousands of years. Like, why would you change this? I really would like our industry not to have that mindset. And fortunately, less and less people have that mindset. So what I really wish for, that no one ever has that mindset anymore, because if we had that mindset, we would have still be riding horses today, and I'm not sure if that's what we want. So really just be open to innovation, open to improvement, open to change. I know it's hard. I know these guys are so overwhelmed. I was in their position. It's a crazy tough job, and something that people don't see when they just come for the coffee or for the drink or for the food. but it's such a tough job, and you're always understaffed on a manager level. So I know it's hard, but try to find that time throughout your month to look into where else can we improve, how can we innovate, like be open to it, because there's a lot of platforms out there, there's a lot of solutions out there that are really there to help you. So I think that's it, and I think we'll be in a good place.
Well, thank you so much, Freddie, and guys, download Embargo.
Thank you.